To my dear friend who lives in the world beside mine, I send you this letter with quiet joy and careful honesty. I will speak plainly, because in my world plain words carry the proof that matters. You might find my customs odd at first, yet I think you will feel their comfort as I tell you how we live. Here, privacy is not a hidden wish, but the basic shape of daily life. We do not earn privacy by being good, because privacy is already ours before we do anything at all. Trust does not come from spilling details, but from showing that our claims are true, without giving away the details themselves. We do this with proofs that reveal only yes or no, and nothing else. I know the term might sound abstract, but the feeling is simple and kind. It feels like showing the outline of a key, and never handing over the key. It feels like being seen for the right thing at the right time, and never more than that. Let me start with my walk to the bakery near the river. I love their rye bread, because it is gentle on my body. The baker needs to know whether I can eat what she sells, but she does not need to read my medical history. I show a small green light on my phone that proves the bread fits my allergies. The light carries no list of conditions and no note from my doctor. It is only a proof that says this item is safe for me today. The baker smiles and slides the warm loaf across the counter. She knows I am safe without knowing why I am safe. She trusts the green light because anyone can verify the light is honest and no one can open it to spy. We talk about the weather and the ducks and nothing about my body. Later, I take a tram toward the center where I meet my partner, Ori. We agreed to share our live locations for 20 minutes while we find each other in the park. The timer appears on our screens, and a soft chime reminds us when the window closes. We prefer short windows, so our days are not a map for anyone else. I like how this makes trust quiet and deliberate. I choose to be visible, and then I choose to fade again. We both feel lighter, because there is less to guard after the meeting. Love does not mean leaving the door open forever. Love in my world often sounds like this sentence: I can see you now, and I will hide again soon. People ask whether such care makes us cold, but the truth is the opposite. People here cry more easily because safety is normal. When safety is normal, you can admit fear, and you can admit desire. You can ask for help without worrying that the helper will catalogue your life. Our therapists use tools that prove they are licensed and bound by duty. My therapist receives proofs about my medications and allergies that never show the names of the drugs. She sees only what prevents harm during a session or during an emergency. She hears my voice and sees my tears, and that is enough for care. She keeps my story in her memory, rather than in a warehouse of files. I never feel like a file number when I sit in her chair. I feel like a person who asked for a hand and got a hand. The market works differently, but it still works. Merchants want to reach buyers, yet buyers refuse to be followed. So merchants publish offers with conditions. The offer might say this is for people who enjoy jazz within 5 miles and who have visited 2 live shows this month. My device checks, privately, whether I qualify, and if I qualify, I can unlock a coupon that proves eligibility but not my name. The merchant sees that the offer found a real listener, and nothing more. Bad targeting grows quiet over time, because merchants learn that guessing does not pay. Relevance becomes a craft again, rather than a raid on attention. Ads start to behave like polite invitations that I can accept or ignore. I keep discovering good things without losing pieces of myself. Creativity thrives under this rule, because the stage belongs to choice. My friend Kaze performs under a pen name and keeps their face private. They prove ownership of songs and prove that fans nearby qualify for discounted tickets. A music hall can verify the audience count and pay the right share without reading a list of fan identities. Kaze says the silence around their real name helps them write. They step into the light when they want to glow, and then they step back into shade. Even fame feels less sticky this way, and fame stops taking people hostage. Fans say the shows feel intimate because the invitation is earned and not scraped. This also crushes scalping, because the right to buy is bound to a proof rather than to a code you can resell. People call it a fairer line, and I agree. Government here is both strict and gentle. It is strict about how power may see citizens, and it is gentle about how citizens may see the state. Voting happens with proofs that let anyone check the tally without seeing who voted for what. I can verify that my ballot is in the count, and that no ballot was counted twice. I can do this without revealing my choice, even to a curious friend. Services like income support or disability access work through yes or no checks that leave raw records sealed. A nurse can see that I meet the rule for a medicine without seeing the source of my pain. Inspectors can audit a budget and prove that the money reached schools without reading who takes lunch aid. Reporters can hold leaders to account with public proofs that do not expose families. This keeps public trust strong, because the math does not care who holds office. You will want to ask about crime. So I will tell you about the day our city caught a bribery ring with almost no leaks. The case started when a small port project kept changing hands. Payments looked ordinary, but the schedule smelled wrong, even to the layperson. Investigators placed a warrant that allowed them to request a special proof from a handful of large transfers. The proof did not show names or amounts. It only showed whether a transfer matched a corruption pattern agreed by a judge and a civic jury and an ombuds. The quorum system here is the lock on even the lock. If and only if the pattern triggered across several transfers, the system revealed only those specific links. The revelation was narrow and public, and sealed again once the case closed. I watched the hearing with my neighbor, who knows public law. She liked how the proof trail was open while the private life stayed shut. She said this is what it means to punish an act and not a life. The guilty were held to the light, while the innocent kept their shade. People slept a little earlier that week. There were fewer fireworks online, and more quiet relief at kitchen tables. We keep the quorum model under constant review, and the rotation schedule is public. The keys are never with the same hands for long. People can prove that the rotation happened on time, and no one can secretly skip a rotation. Power must show its homework, while people keep their diaries closed. Work looks different in pleasant ways. Hiring relies on capability proofs instead of long biographies. You can prove that you passed a certain assessment, and that your result is within a range. You do not need to reveal the problems you solved or the code you wrote. Bias loses some of its grip because first contact happens without names and faces. Later, you can reveal pieces if you want to build a deeper bond. Many teams keep contributors partly anonymous for the first month, so ideas speak louder than status. This is not perfect, but it helps. People say they feel seen for what they can do and not for what they can imitate. The games around prestige slow down because the proofs cut the costumes away. Schools here teach children how to hold a secret, kindly. At 13, a child attends a small ceremony to take custody of personal keys. The room is quiet, and the table is tidy, and there is tea for everyone. A caretaker gives a simple talk about stewardship rather than fear. The child signs a pledge that promises care for self and care for others. The pledge says, share only what you mean, and prove only what is asked. The pledge says your voice is yours and your silence is yours. Families cry during this ceremony for the sweetest reason. They cry because a child becomes legible without becoming exposed. The child walks out with a backbone that does not wobble in a crowd. You may wonder whether this world ever feels lonely. It can. Sometimes the ability to hold back becomes a habit of hiding. People can use privacy to avoid the slow work of trust. New friendships can take longer because each person chooses how much to show. When two people both choose very little, the road stays narrow. We built gentle norms to counter this drift. We try to ask for small windows and short glimpses, instead of complete invisibility. We praise courage when someone reveals a personal story for the sake of connection. We do not praise curiosity that forgets consent. Mistakes still happen, because no design is perfect. A judge once tried to delay a key rotation for personal convenience. The rotation watchdog raised a public alarm with a proof that the delay was real. The judge apologized and resigned within a week. The system did not need a whistleblower with a stolen folder. The system needed only a proof that any citizen could verify at home. That proof was a lantern placed on the courthouse steps. I visited those steps that night and listened to the quiet. It sounded like air after a storm. The city kept walking, and no one had to move houses. I want to show you a day in my life that changed how I think about dignity. A neighbor named Ruth retired from a long career as a bus driver. She is proud of her work and proud of the thousands of safe rides she gave. At the celebration, friends wanted to collect a gift for her new garden. People contributed small amounts through an event link that proved donor eligibility without listing names. This mattered because Ruth does not like to talk about money, and neither do her friends. At the end of the night, the organizers showed a proof that the goal was met and that no one donated twice. We cheered without a scrolling wall of donors. We hugged Ruth without asking who gave what. Later, Ruth told me she felt loved and untouched at once. Dating in this world will make you smile. Profiles include proofs like I am single, and I live within 3 miles, and I am free on Friday. Profiles do not include exact addresses or workplaces. People can choose to reveal a first name after a successful walk in a bright place. A friend once joked that romance here is a slow opening of a gift. I think that is right, because surprise is gentle when consent is steady. Breakups are tidier, because access scrolls close on schedule. We do not have long arguments about lingering logins. We do not have the ache of old messages lying open in a stranger's pocket. Clean exits make room for cleaner starts. Art still blooms, because mystery did not kill it. In fact, mystery made it breathe deeper. Painters sell limited prints that prove authenticity at purchase and never show buyer identities. Book clubs prove membership and unlock bonus chapters without leaving a trail of personal notes. The absence of dossiers makes reviews kinder, because people learn to criticize work rather than people. I noticed that humor sharpens too. Jokes land better when they are not aimed at a target that cannot say no. We still tease each other in private groups where consent is clear. We still share wrong guesses about puzzles, and then laugh. Laughter feels clean when it leaves no bruise. Commerce keeps its rhythm with a few new instruments. Returns work through proofs that a product is genuine and within a return window. You do not need to share your purchase history or your home address. Couriers receive a delivery token that is valid only for one place and one time. The token reveals no other stops and no side notes about your habits. Lost packages are resolved by a public proof that the courier met or missed the window. Insurance claims run faster because the company requests focused proofs rather than massive files. Fraud still tries its luck, but the walls it must climb are built of math, not mood. People sleep without checking bank alerts at 3 in the morning. Morning feels like a gift, and not a review meeting with your past. The strangest change for me was how conversations slowed and deepened. Without constant feeds, we began to read letters again. It turns out that a letter can still hold a life. Friends write about feelings with the care of a craftsperson. We do not race to be seen. We choose to be heard. I am writing to you this way for that reason. I want you to feel my breath between sentences. I want you to meet my city as if we were walking after rain. I want you to meet my heart as if we were old friends on a balcony. Now I will share a fear we still carry. We worry that the power to reveal might someday become a habit. We fear that comfort could dull our vigilance. So we built rituals that sharpen memory. Each spring, we hold a small festival of withholding. At the festival, people practice saying no with grace. We practice deleting a draft letter that tells too much. We practice asking only for what we need. We practice granting a tiny window instead of a wall of glass. We celebrate quiet, as if it were music. Children understand faster than adults because they grow up with choice. They learn that secrets are not lies when the purpose is care. They learn that exposure is not courage when the motive is pressure. They learn that trust can sound like, "You do not need to tell me, and I still believe you." Teenagers sometimes swing too far and refuse to show anything. Then they discover the joy of sharing by consent and return to the middle. The middle is where friendship grows, because it has air. Adults learn this again and again. We forget, and then we remember. Memory here is a circle that comes back with kinder steps. Some visitors ask whether our world is possible only with perfect devices. I tell them our devices fail like any tools. Battery dies, and screens crack, and cables vanish onto sofas. What matters is that failure reveals less than before. A stolen phone cannot confess my life to a thief. A broken laptop cannot leak my letters. The worst day is still a day of loss, but not a day of exposure. That difference turns panic into routine inconvenience. That difference keeps shame out of the toolbox of strangers. That difference lets me keep my shoulders loose on a bus. I want to describe one late night because it stays with me. I was walking home after a small concert by the river. Lanterns hung under a bridge, and the wind moved like a careful cat. My friends sent me a safety request that asked for a 10-minute location window. I accepted, and the window opened like a friendly hand. We spoke about the songs while the dot moved on the screen. The window closed a block from my door. I felt seen by someone I love, and unseen by everyone else. That balance felt like moral oxygen. I slept with an easy jaw, and woke with an easy laugh. Perhaps you wonder how we argue. We argue the way sailors watch stars. We care about navigation and not about spectacle. Every claim must carry a proof or a note that it is a hunch. Hunches are welcome as seeds and not as verdicts. People still misread each other and still raise voices. Heat exists and must exist. Yet humiliation is rare because there is less ammunition lying around. The fight ends without a permanent record posted for a crowd. Apology is easier because the wound is smaller. You might ask whether such a world can travel well. Our visitors receive a travel kit that contains small proofs for transit and lodging. The kit gives you a way to prove payment and identity without giving the clerk a full dossier. If you lose the kit, you can revoke it with a single call from any public terminal. The revocation proof is loud enough for every system to hear and fast enough to cut off abuse. The kit does not tie your footsteps to a permanent map. You can leave a city with only memories and receipts that reveal nothing. You can tell a story without handing over a diary. That is my favorite kind of souvenir. It weighs nothing and still feels like a treasure in the hand. Let me tell you how we remember our dead, because it matters for the living. Memorials here share witness without archives. A friend can prove they stood in a square to honor a name without publishing their face to the world. Mourners can verify that donations reached the right fund without seeing who gave. A family can seal the rest. Grief remains deep, but it does not become a resource for strangers. The dead deserve peace, and the living deserve privacy. Our customs try to give both. We fail sometimes, and then we repair. We repair by closing the leak and not by opening a new one. I am aware that your world often asks for more than it truly needs. Forms ask for entire biographies when they need only a date. Portals ask for permanent access when they need only a single check. This is not a moral flaw so much as a habit that grew teeth. It is a habit that tries to make certainty from piles of data. We learned that certainty is better built from the right shape of proof. The right shape is narrow and testable and independent of gossip. The right shape does not tempt a clerk to peek out of boredom. The right shape does not tempt a thief to sell your birthday twice. The right shape frees both sides from the weight of secrets they never wanted to hold. My city sometimes hosts open workshops where anyone can examine the tools we use. You can run a verification on a public server and see the same yes or no that a minister sees. The server does not know who you are and does not care who you are. It only cares that the rule is followed. That uniformity keeps authority humble. Leaders cannot ask for special data when the server has no such button. Citizens cannot demand a peek when the server has no such window. Rules are written like lines in a song that everyone can sing. A law that cannot be sung in public does not last long here. We put such laws back on the workbench until they can be sung. I know my world sounds tidy. I promise you it is not a garden without weeds. People still hurt each other with lies and silence. People still want what is not theirs. There are still thieves who chase what cannot be easily fenced. But the ground is safer, and so the fall is shorter. The bruises fade faster, because they were not broadcast. The apologies mean more, because they are not weighed against a public record of shame. We keep choosing this path, because it gives ordinary days a bright center. Ordinary days are where most of life hides, and that is where dignity must live. I wonder how your city sounds at night. I imagine buses turning and bicycles ticking at red lights. I imagine windows with lamplight and cups waiting in the sink. In that quiet, I hope you can try a small experiment. Ask yourself what claim you make often that could be proven without a story. Perhaps it is your age or your membership or your right to a discount. Imagine showing only the yes. Imagine how much energy that would save you in a year. Imagine how many awkward talks would never need to happen. Imagine how much respect you could give and get by default. A friend asked me what virtue grows fastest in our world. I said patience. She laughed and said patience is a slow virtue. I said that is why it grows so well in a place that does not reward the fastest shout. When you do not need to perform your life for strangers, you can afford to listen. When you can afford to listen, your judgment improves. When judgment improves, conflict shrinks, and courage rises. Courage rises because people do not fear that a mistake will stain them forever. Courage rises because they can try new work without exposing old wounds. Courage rises because second chances are not public theatre. I should tell you how this letter travels. It leaves my machine, wrapped in a proof that it came from me. The route does not reveal my location or the places it passes. When it arrives, your machine can verify that the message is intact and from the friend you know. You do not need to check a return address, and you do not need to search a directory. The message proves itself, and then it becomes a simple file on your desk. I trust this path the way sailors trust lighthouses. The beam is steady even when the water is not. If you choose to reply, I will receive your words with the same safety. The safety will be invisible, which is my favorite kind. Do not think we achieved this by sudden genius. We stumbled forward for years. We broke things, and then fixed them, and then broke them again. We argued by lantern light and we argued by spreadsheet. We borrowed ideas from neighbors who solved different problems. We learned to fear our own certainty. We wrote our rules in public, and we made them short. We allowed time for people to practice and to refuse. We made refusal lawful, because a yes without the right to say no is only decor. This is the secret I want most to share with you. Dignity is not a mood here. Dignity is a system you can test. Dignity is a habit you can teach to children. Dignity is a door you can close and open on your own. Sometimes I stand by my window and think about a different past. I imagine versions of myself who lived with leaky borders. I feel a small grief for them. Then I make tea and write to you, and the grief turns into a plan. The plan is to keep choosing what to show. The plan is to keep proving only what is needed. I hope this letter has given you more than a tour. I hope it has given you a feeling you can carry into your morning. The feeling is this: you deserve to be legible enough to live and private enough to breathe. If you remember only one line, let it be that one. You deserve to be clear enough to live and private enough to breathe. I will end soon, because long letters must still be kind to the eyes and to the ears. I am saving a story about a painter who auctioned a color without revealing its code. I am saving a story about a town that banned public leaderboards and found joy again. I am saving a story about a child who kept a secret for a friend and turned 12 that day. I will tell those stories when you write back. From your friend who lives in the world next to yours, I send you warm regard and a steady light. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of my letter today. If you liked this story, please tap the like button and subscribe, and leave a kind comment with your thoughts. If you wish to support the channel, please use the QR code at the bottom right of the video or the link in the description. In the description, you will also find links to other works from a very different series by our team. Take good care until we meet again, and please come back for the next letter from our world.